Welcome back, everybody, to Rob's MetalWorks. We are kicking off the year here, 2020. Can you believe it? And we are making our grand return in support of the best that Texas metal has to offer. And I knew one of the first bands I had to get on the program this year is Austin's Elite. I have my brothers here, Ven and Tim, from the band called Runescarred. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. 2020.
Hello.
It's such a great thing to reconnect with you guys, man. You know, I go way back with you guys, you know, and we won't talk about
The alley.
The alley, doing all kinds of crazy things in Austin, yeah. DEP and crazy antics, but you know, I know that Runescarred represents a new beginning for you guys. And I love Van, you know I love you, and Tim, I love you too, because you guys are really smart dudes, and you're vets, and you're doing it the right thing, and that's one of the great things that I love about Runescarred, because, and Van, I told you this, you know, off camera, that just the sophistication of what you're doing on the front end and the back end is all coming together and really making this band a force to reckon with in the metal scene here in Texas. So, first question is, I remember when I first got the press release for Runescarred, I was like, oh my God, what am I saying this name right? How do you pronounce Runescarred? But where does that name come from? Because I think that band names are very important. They kind of set the tone, I think, subconsciously for people. If you have a bad band name, then, you know, it kind of already puts up a roadblock for some people. So talk a little bit about the name.
Sure. Actually, the name was inspired. It's a couple of different levels here. So initially, it was immediately inspired. Many years ago, Dead Earth Politics was already in full swing. I'm a big nerd. My wife is a big nerd, and she has been an avid D&D player. And she had one of her favorite characters was a rune-scarred barbarian. So, you know, we're talking about it, and that character essentially to go into battle down to like your last point, and you're worried that you're gonna, you know, roll a 1 or some shit. She just carve a rune into her flesh, berserk out, and go tear shit up. And so I was, you know, I wanted to use that for a different project and branch out from there. But, you know, the idea of pigeonholing ourselves into something, which is kind of where DEP was going, which was really D&D, Dungeons and Dragons-y sort of stuff. The concern was that, you know, Runescarred might, as a moniker, do that. But as I just kind of meditated on it and thought about it, I mean, because just marketing-wise, 2 syllables is almost always the way to go.
Runescarred.
Oh yeah, boom! You get the chance. It's easy to remember. It's like Dead or what? Okay, you know, and that shit happens all the time. I mean, not that we don't get running scared and RuneScape and shit like that, but you know, you run into your own issues. But marketing-wise, there's that. But there's also a story in the strength behind that name, wherein, you know, you wear your scars, you wear your wounds, and you wear them on the outside as in a way to show I survived this. Right, and we talked about it, and we can, if you want to, a little bit with, you know, limited information, how we went from Dead Earth Politics to Runescarred. But that idea that you are your scars and you shouldn't be afraid of them, right, and you should use them as a means of strength pushing forward, to me, really represents what the project is, yeah, and what we are, or at least what I am as a vocalist, as a human being also, because it was rough in that transition, and as just an artist, just in general. So,
and I think that's one of the things that I love about this band, is because I've known you guys for a long time and have kind of seen you evolve. And as we were talking off camera, yeah, there's there's these trials and tribulations that we have to muster through, and we always come out bigger and stronger on the other side. So, but we walk away with some scars. We walk away with some scars, and I think that to be at your level with what you guys are delivering musically, what we're going to talk about here in a bit, you have to go through those things. Absolutely. You can't be a new band and be there. You have to go through all those things.
Yeah, I can't. I'm sure you can, but I can't name a band that is fresh. And by fresh, I don't mean just we're brand new, but brand new people who have never. who have not gone through the paces, at least with previous bands. Sure. You can't. I can't name a band that had a bunch of fresh-faced kids that got picked up and are still going at least with that project. Most of those bands either implode because they don't know what's coming, and they don't have the knowledge or the experience. And, they may find success with other projects afterwards, after they get that, but you generally don't blow up without that behind you.
Now, I know that, just because of what's, the evolution of our music scene and music fans and the industry too, that it was important for you to kind of rebrand what you're doing and kind of put in the back end, maybe predispositions about fans who thought, I know these dudes, I know what they do, and now to say like, hey, no, this is something new. So what was the vision when you guys sat down and said, okay, we're doing a new band? What was the vision for Runescarred?
I don't know. I think it would be giving us a little too much credit to say that at least musically that there was any sort of premeditation behind it, or a lot of lengthy deliberation or anything. I mean, really, it was just okay. Well, we're going to start this new project. It's got this name, whatever, and it's just kind of, at least speaking from my perspective, it's just what I was feeling at the time, and I started writing what I was writing, and then we went out and we looked for other people to play what I was writing. And we were fortunate to find some other really accomplished and versatile musicians to sort of help bring forth.
And Skunk.
and Skunk. Everyone you need a pet, you need a mascot always for the band. But
we love your Skunk.
You're touring guitarist.
So I mean, I guess it's like, I mean, we didn't sit there and be like, all right, well now we're gonna sound like this because we used to sound like that. I mean, it was just it was really just a natural extension of where we were going before. I mean, it's just when you think of
walls.
Yeah, when you think of like the evolution of DEP sound, like where it started and where it ended up, it was just sort of more of that. And I mean, it's like, we're very we're obviously a metal band first and foremost, and that's there's no mistaking that. But there's a lot of other dishes on the menu, so to speak.
And that's why I was hesitant when I introduced the band to say, oh, progressive thrashers or melodic rockers, because I mean there's so many things that you could call your band, and I got the release here and I could say what they're saying, but I really kind of wanted to hear it from your kind of perspective, because I do think it's progressive. I mean, you guys are not delivering just this traditional thrash, but it's really technical. And then there is some traditional thrash. And then Tim, what you're doing on guitars just kind of blows my mind every time I hear it. And then we'll talk about that in a bit. But there's so many ways that people could view what Runescarred is doing.
Well, and that part, I guess you maybe you could say, maybe not by design, but like the inability to categorize. I mean, that's because it's just, I like a whole shit ton of different bands and styles of music, and I've devoted my life to trying to absorb as much as I can and kind of have it, come out however it comes out. And to me, it's just like, I guess to me, it's no big deal to kind of have, to kind of take things from the different, different neighborhoods, so yeah, I really like the fact that there's not, I mean, just a metal band, you know what I mean? And that's good. That's the idea. Like
Well, I mean, and the thing is like now what you do and what we do, sometimes actively, sometimes just subconsciously, just because it's how it goes is how bands used to function. Bands used to write through their inspiration, not like their inspiration, and I think that's one of the things that separates us and a fistful of other bands is because we have a clear set of inspirations. What?
No,
were you giving me a fist bump?
No,
were you fisting me?
I was fisting you.
Yes. I was sitting here anyway. So now that's awkward, a whole bunch of inspiration that it's not like, Tim doesn't throw something out and we go, okay, that sounds cool, but we're not gonna mess with it. It's like if it sounds cool, and if it sounds good and it jives, then we roll with it. Yeah. But you have so many other bands, and I've played with bands that are like, we want to sound like Pantera.
Yeah.
We want to sound like this, and that's where a lot of the flood has been. I think we're starting to see that wane. I mean, we see bands like Ginger that are fucking awesome amalgam of different things. Of course, they're Europeans, so they might not be bogged down by the American. We need, the perceived American young band that is like, I want to sound like Lamb of God, So I think that's an important takeaway for me, is that we continue to grow from our influences and not try to parallel.
Well, I think that's just a reflection of where you guys are in your careers. I mean, and as musicians, yeah.
That's so nice.
As musicians, you guys aren't, building the foundation that was set, and you guys are evolving from that. So the band started in 2017. In 2018, you released the EP We Are to kind of introduce the band to the national scene. How did you feel the reception for the EP was?
Dude, it was fucking awesome, actually.
Yeah.
That was the EP that got us. We got into Power Play,
Metal Hammer. I'm not sure who to give the credit to, but I mean, it seems like people took notice.
Yeah, Dewar PR worked really hard for us on that EP.
Yeah, and I mean, even though it was just 3 songs, but just in those 3 songs, I feel like we did what we wanted to do. We covered a lot of ground, and like each song on that is vastly different from the other ones, and there's a whole lot of at least we feel like a whole lot of cool stuff at play there, and
it really kind of showed the versatility of the band.
I'm glad. I think that's what Tim and I discussed. I mean,
right.
as far as I guess laying out the plan, that we did that much less with this is what we're going to sound like, and but we're very, at least with that EP, we were pretty specific on how we were going to represent with this first release, because it was our first release outside of DEP, and we wanted to go. DEP ceased to exist in June. We started jamming with Peyton. We got everything together, and then the following February, we were recording that EP and getting it ready for release the following June. So we wanted as little space in between where we were and where we were going, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
now, as we sit here at the beginning of 2020, which will be a pivotal year for the band, as you're about to release your full-length release. Full-length release. Yeah.
6 inches.
10 inches. 10 inches.
I got convinced that this is 10 inches.
The Distant Infinite will hit the scene. For some of you who have not yet seen the artwork, go ahead and take a look at it. It will be coming out February 21st. So really catching you to have this conversation right now is really opportune, because we're going to be able to talk about this record that many people have not been able to hear, except for a couple of tracks, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. But really, 10 songs, and really 10 great songs.
Thank you.
I mean, this to me, thank you. Thank you, Clawhammer, for sending me the record. I was going to say thank you, Van, but you didn't send me shit. Clawhammer sent me the shit. So I got the record. Exactly. I got the record and have really absorbed it. It's really, really just I had to listen to it for a while and to identify kind of which ones are my favorite tracks and how it flowed and how strategically you guys place these tracks. And we'll talk about the title track here in a little bit, but really 10 solid songs. You know, I didn't think there was any filler on this record. And nowadays you don't see bands doing that. I think they're kind of afraid to kind of blow their wad so quickly, you know.
Right.
And you guys are like, man, we did 3 songs, you know, a year ago. Now we're going to do 10 new songs. So why did you guys decide to go with the full length instead of throwing out another EP, which kind of seems to be the trend this year?
Well, it's the trend. It's been a trend for a while because most labels don't want to spend money on an EP. So on an LP. So us being independent, we have that flexibility, and I think it kind of boils down to we wanted to. We just wanted a full length.
You had the music.
Yeah, I mean, that was another important thing. It's like we felt we had a lot to say, and it was necessary to have that many songs, because otherwise it would have felt like an incomplete statement of the mission. Mm-hmm. Otherwise,
yeah, this is a beginning and a middle and an end.
Right. Yeah. This you know, there's you know, sort of a royal flush of attributes at work here on this album, and otherwise it you know, wouldn't have been if we had done 6 songs, 7, you know, whatever. Like it wouldn't have. You know, it just wouldn't have made the statement that we wanted to make. Yeah. It's the simplest way I can put it. And
there is a little bit of everything for everyone on this record. And, you know, I think sometimes, you know, as metal fans, we kind of get categorized into this little pigeonhole, but really a lot of us like it all. So when I was listening to this record and I was telling you off camera, I'm like, man, you guys really came out of the fucking gate speedy and fast and hit us hard with Hexit, and then you kind of will go into some really beautiful guitar work that Tim's delivering on Sorrow Is, and then kind of the title tracks, this little musical piece. So really, it's a diverse piece of work, really kind of showing like, hey man, you know, we can throw down, but yet we're musically and talented enough to kind of throw in all this other stuff that metal fans really like. And like bands like, you know, Death Angel, who have been melodic and stuff like that, and people love them for that. And you guys are saying like, I mean, we can throw all this stuff down too. So if someone said to you, Ven, like, talk to me about, you know, the Distant Infinite, what are you kind of delivering?
I'm delivering nothing on this Distant Infinite if you're talking about the track. If you're talking...
I'm talking about the record.
You're talking the whole record?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. Well, as far as what I'm delivering, it's really, I'm delivering pretty much every facet of myself, which is something I haven't done before. This is and this is part of what played into the track order. We start out hard and fast and angry and pissed off, and we kind of stay around there and let the dark side take hold of us through Legionum and all this, you know, all this stuff, and just and then we get in, and then when we get into the middle, we start getting self-reflective. and we start thinking about what the fuck, hold on, what are we doing? We're in this, and then we get into this lull with this distant infinite and sorrow is, which is, I'm in this, we're in this pit, and I've put myself here, and then how do we get out? And then Mammoth, which is my personal favorite, is I very much wanted to end it on a high note. Right. So, I mean, musically, the most I've put into this musically is Sorrow Is, which I wrote the progression, and I said, here, Tim, make this sound like music, and he did. But more than I feel like, for me personally, more than lyrics, more than melody, more than abrasive growling and screaming, I feel like I put in, and this may be hubris, and you can correct me on this, but I feel like I put in the soul in the album, the tortured, reprieved soul,
And I think you accentuate that with all the different vocal styles you're doing. I mean, I was like listening to the record, I was like, I'm gonna count how many different vocal styles he's doing. Then there's like the rowdy, screaming, and then there's the melodic, and then there's this other devil voice. Yeah. So I counted 3.
Devil, that's about right.
Yeah, there's
3 different voices in there.
Yeah, all the entire Actors Guild is well represented.
That's the end.
on the record.
I love it all. So for some of you people, as I mentioned earlier, the record doesn't come out till Feb 21st, but there are a couple of singles that people can get right now.
Yeah, right now you can check out Inviting Rivers and Mammoth, again, my personal favorite on the album, so my wad's already blown on that. But we're also about to release on the 17th of this month, we're going to be dropping Poison Oasis as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Don't sound so disappointed.
Yeah, I know. I know.
That's Twisting Flesh.
I know. I was about to say that's my favorite track, and we shouldn't be biasing the viewers because you're saying, "Oh, this is my favorite song," and I'm like, "My favorite song is Twisting Flesh." So all you people out there, listen to the tracks, decide which one's your favorite. But Ven's right. My favorite song is Twisting Flesh. I love kind of when you get into the middle of the record that kind of slows down to that mid-tempo kind of metal.
Well, that's I mean, and I think that honestly, I think that's a good thing. That speaks to a good thing where like we hope everybody has a different favorite because then I think that means that we have a really strong album as opposed to some other albums come out and there's like 1 or 2 clear obvious winners and the rest are just dogs. So which song are we talking about? Which band are we talking about? Who are we?
What's my name?
Okay, so why was the we mentioned that the Distant Infinite was kind of like this instrumental thingy. Mm-hmm. Why was that one chosen as the title track?
I guess
you can either be really intellectual about this or you can tell the truth.
I could do both.
He was like, I wrote that song. I wanted to be the title track.
Well, there's a couple things at play. I mean, I guess the fact that we called it This Distant Infinite on the album The Distant Infinite, I guess was a bit of a wink and a nod to Slayer, which has the song Raining Blood on the album Rain in Blood. There we go. We just hammer on the head to you guys to make it super fucking obvious. Why it's I guess the title track, why it was chosen to be the title track, I guess it was because I came up with the album title, and so I guess it seemed to make sense because we had lyrics for everything else, and so Devin had suggested the writing of a piece is sort of a bit of a lead-in to Sorrow Is to kind of help set the table and put the silverware out for it. And I
didn't use those words.
So maybe like a week before we went in to record, like I had a little bit of a seed nugget of like a guitar melody and something else, and like I got together with Skunk and I'm like, hey, this is what I got, and he sat at the piano and he's like, oh, you got that? Okay, well, let me put this. And then he started throwing some chords at me, and then and then it evolved into what it was. And I knew we hit the mark because we like Skunk and I, we were just like going nuts with it in the studio, just adding this and this and this and this, and then Devin came in and listened to it. He's like, man, he's like, that sounds like something off like the Division Bell by Pink Floyd. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
that is what I
love that's one of my favorite Pink Floyd.
And that's what I wanted to do. And it's got a lot of cool things. I mean, it's got like, it's got some slide guitar. Slide guitar, different keyboard textures and all that stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I felt it was a good the title of the album, The Distant Infinite. I guess it kind of came to me what happened was, we came up with the piece, and for some reason, I don't know, it just got me thinking of like, I just thought of like a painting of like a forest, but like sometimes you can kind of like see over the tops of the trees, and you can see sort of like the horizon, sun in the distance, and all that shit. And so like it kind of got me thinking about like the distance and the horizon and sort of the infinity, if you will. And so like the idea behind calling the album The Distant Infinite is that we're always, it is another, there's the cliche, it's the journey, not the destination. It's like, so we're always the distant infinite. We're always reaching to sort of,
the journey never ends.
Exactly. We're always,
journey never
we're always reaching to sort of maximize our abilities as human beings and all of that kind of stuff. And like, you never quite really get there, but that doesn't mean you need to like stop trying and stop like putting forth like your best effort and stuff. So that's like, so it's like that's the idea, the distant infinite. We're
like a musical career.
Exactly.
Like a musical career.
Yes. Precisely.
Exactly.
Thanks, Rob.
So one of the things too that I love about this record, it just sounds so fucking good on the stereo.
Yeah.
It sounds great. Yeah, it sounds amazing. So let's talk about that.
My little brother James Gelber engineered it.
Really?
Yeah, he if you've heard of the band Hemlock, he used to play in Hemlock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we recorded everything except for vocals here in Austin, and then we went to Studio 19 in Lubbock to record vocals. And I would very much when we record again, I would very much like to record the entire process at Studio 19. It's a great studio, and my brother, he did the EP as well. Actually, he's recorded everything for us.
Yeah.
It'll just make it easy. Yeah, the EP, the Moonchild, Being God. And I was really nervous about working with him because he's the youngest brother and I'm the oldest brother, and we had, brothers get at odds sometimes, and I'm a pain in the ass to work with. I'm a sarcastic.
I know how meticulous you are.
Well, I'm also just very sarcastic, I was just worried that we would and actually, he's probably the best producer engineer for me, and he knocked it out of the park.
You trust him?
I do trust him. He knows what I'm looking for. I feel like he knows what the rest of the band is looking for, and
Who knows you better than your brother?
Satan.
Dogs.
Same thing as Satan, but
That's great, yeah. Sounds great, man. I love the way this record sounds, and when I crank it loud, it sounds fucking great. So,
cool,
yeah, good production on this record. Also, really quickly, before we kind of talk a little bit about the lyrical content, I love the artwork too. God,
right?
that artwork is like so like cool. When I saw it, I was like, man, like fucking Excalibur shit.
Yeah. Well, we are searching for the Holy Grail actively, so hashtag Holy Grail, dog. Rich Knapperath, man, Anonymous Ink and Idea. He's been a friend for many, many years.
Yeah.
Even before, even during DEP, he's done a lot of art for a lot of bands, and he and I just talked about stuff, and the name was not there when we gave him it. It was not there for this, but the concept, which ended up being wrapped in by that name, was there. So he just he went with themes, and that's really what this is. I mean, it's a package about the human condition, you know, self-reflection, you know, anger to just, you know, the knee-jerk reaction to violence, to hating yourself, and then to loving yourself, and then finding strength to move forward and push all the fucking noise out. And that's what all of that, you know, represents. And that's why there's runic symbolism from China. There's runic symbolism, you know, from everywhere. Well, probably not everywhere. I think 3 or 4 places. I know. Yeah, from
Exactly.
from San Antonio and
The farthest reaches of the earth.
yeah, farthest
Well,
reach.
nonetheless, it's a complex piece of work. You know, you look at it, it looks complex. You kind of absorb it, and you mentioned right now the concept of the human condition. Mm-hmm. And off camera, we were talking about, you know, things that are happening in our world, but also things that society is evolving with. So when you think about the human condition in 2019, 2020 now, where do you kind of see that going? I mean, it kind of, everybody kind of has this ominous kind of feeling about it, but, you know, we won't disembrace our technology or the complexity of our busy little lives. Nobody wants to let that go.
Yeah, I don't even think it's that. I think right now everybody argues to respond. Nobody argues to listen. No one discusses to listen and to learn. I listen to you sit here and talk to me about your political viewpoints, your social viewpoints, or whatever, but I'm not absorbing it. I'm sitting here going, how am I going to prove what he is saying is wrong? Yeah. And that's what we do. Yeah. That's what we do, and I mean, that's what our problem is.
How many videos can you find on YouTube of where the title is something like blank destroys blank, blank owns blank? And then all of it, and it's just people sort of, and it's always like, oh well, here's this person with this point of view, and they're totally owning this other person, and they're putting them in their place, and it's this sort of like, you know, people kind of see this idea of like, this idea that like discussion and relating to other human beings, like that there's somehow like, there's always got to be a winner and a loser, and like that's.
Why can't people walk away both with something?
Maybe it's like maybe sometimes that's the case, but more often than not, it's not, or at least I mean, it's not supposed to be. At least I don't think. So it's just, I mean, it's like I don't know. It's like it feels like we're edging towards a place where like we just. More and more of us are losing the ability to properly relate to one another, or it's just the idea of like, you know, we're connected to everybody at all the time, but it's like, are we meant to be? Like, is that something like that? Just the idea, you know.
It's like everybody wants to be the antagonist.
Yeah. Well, no, everybody wants to be the protagonist, and that makes everybody else the antagonist. If you don't 100% agree with me, then fuck you. That's what it is right now.
Me.
I've had these conversations where
People equal shit.
I'm gonna write that song.
Whoa! Ding.
Yeah. Woo! I've had conversations with people where I agree with them, but I don't agree with, say, this point. I agree with you, but I don't agree that this. And because I don't agree 100%, I'm, you know, insert what, libtard or racist or, you know, whatever the other side that I'm arguing with wants to label me, because I don't fully subscribe to that.
Whatever today's hashtag is.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely, it's childish. And we have grown-ass fucking adults tearing into children.
Right.
On the internet. And I'm not just talking about 40-year-olds yipping about Greta Thunberg or whomever. I'm talking about, I've seen boomers we see it, the boomers versus millennial shit.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We're seeing a complete social degradation crumbling, whatever other apocalyptic word we want to throw in there. Why? Because we can't talk. That is why we won't talk. And if we can't have these conversations and listen to absorb and to understand rather than to respond, we're not going to get any better.
Yeah.
It's going to be red versus blue all the time, or white versus black all the time.
So the human condition is not good, people. That's the gist of all of that.
Need some fucking antibiotics.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
You guys did a video for Inviting Rivers, which I thought was really cool. Now, you guys had done a couple of videos before that for, like, I think the EP and stuff. And I love your videos because they're so pro. They look great.
Thank you.
Yeah, good work on the videos.
We got him full.
Any other stuff, video stuff you want to do?
Oh yeah, I mean we're about to put out Poison Oasis, which will be it's a playthrough video, but it's a little bit more. It's not just sitting around and staring at guitars, but the focus is on the strings. We actually are pitching a concept video for Hexit, which I'm excited about because my production company's involved in all of these. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm a resource, so why not exploit it, right? And it gives me a chance to kind of flex my muscles because narrative is completely different from music videos.
Sure.
So we want to, if we can, hopefully step it up, do sort of a sci-fi, not really horror, but we'll call it sci-fi horror sort of thing that actually does kind of explore the source of human conditioning in an analogous kind of way.
Yeah. Cool.
So
Cool. When can we expect that, or when would you like that out?
I would like that out yesterday because it's a cool fucking thing.
Costs money.
If we can get the funding for it, then I'm hoping to shoot in February if we can find the time. But our February is pretty busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great segue because today I shared on social media a flyer with all the shows that you guys coming up. I know that on Feb 1st you'll be in San Angelo, and then you're going to be across the state. So what would you like to do as far as road work in support of the record?
Well, right now we do have management. Our manager, Denny Sanders, who's with the label group Plug.
Yeah.
He is working with a tour agent right now. I don't know if I'm at the liberty to say anything, so I just won't. But we might be doing something in February, March. But we're also looking at a 2-week run, possibly West Coast. We'll see
Cool.
at the end of the latter half of May. Whether that's with an agent or whether I end up booking that myself along with Skunk. I don't know, but that's what we're targeting, and to continue playing shows opening for touring acts, and that way we can maximize exposure to fans and kind of swell the ranks for our own shows.
Yeah, you were telling me like the last show that you did was that the opening up for Death Angel? That show that was like an awesome thing.
Yeah. It was really good. It just all the way around, playing, watching. I mean, that's where I got my Ex Mortis shirt.
Great chemistry on stage.
Great chemistry on stage. We had to cut our last song, sadly enough, but we.
Yeah, I mean, they almost rioted at the venue.
I know, everybody set everything on fire. They were like, they demanded Death Angel get off the stage, so we finished.
Yeah.
But we were like, no, just let the guys finish.
Yeah,
And,
like just
yeah. That's how it went down.
Yeah, I mean, we opened for Death Angel, we opened for Holy Grail, Metal Church. This coming June, we're going to be opening for Symphony X, which I'm personally very excited for.
I'm really excited
So I mean,
That's gonna be a big show.
yeah,
it is.
I certainly hope so. I've never seen them live before,
Yeah,
so
Symphony
it's
X, Primal Fear, and
Firewind.
Firewind.
Yeah. So I mean, we're doing a lot of those kind of things, and I feel like it's I feel like it's going, for the most part, it's been going well for us.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like what doing those shows is supposed to do for a new band.
Heavy and loud shout out to Anthony Stevenson at Come and Take It Live and Productions for trusting us enough on those bills.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he never knows if I'm going to wear pants at a show or not. So, but he still rolls the dice.
Yeah, I'm glad those guys are keeping the scene alive and strong in Austin. I got to go back up there soon and visit. I haven't been up there in a bit. Gentlemen, thank you so much for a great interview. I think we've covered really all of the wonderful things that are happening with the band, will be happening with the band in 2020. Any last words, anything I missed, anything you want to share with people who will be watching this interview around the world?
Please visit runescarred.com, RUNESCARRED.com. We're also on the Facebook and everything. And do me a favor. If you like something, fucking like it. Love it. Don't let any of these elitists tell you that you're not metal because you like Billie Eilish. If you like Billie Eilish, fucking rock that shit. Rock it on your heart, man. Enjoy your music. Enjoy your art. Enjoy The Rise of Skywalker. Enjoy The Last Jedi. Fuck the haters. And don't be a hater. All right, I'm off my soapbox.
I second that. No, yeah, I mean, just more of the same. Just we've been pleased with and at times a little overwhelmed with some of the support we've gotten so far with the Runescarred stuff, and we want to thank everyone who has.
And you.
And you, Rod. Yes, by all means. We won't be able to get to where we want to go without you guys. So we thank you, and we hope to receive your continued support.
Thank you, Tim.
We trust we can rely on your vote.
I look forward to your support as well, Tim. Thank you.
It's all coming up.
Are you trying to hold my testicles? What's going on? They're not.
Aren't they over here?
They were. My wife has them right now.
Remember, everyone out there, how can you forget the crazy antics and the brutality of the band called the Runescarred? They're about to drop their full-length record, 10 tracks, The Distant Infinite, February 21st. Be sure to look for it. Go out there, buy it. Support the best in Texas metal. You saw Runescarred only right here on Rob's MetalWorks.